Hello, and thank you for joining us again on a tax chat. Today, we are looking at quite an interesting topic that affects many business owners, managers across the country, excise duty. If you're a manufacturer, importer, or service provider dealing with excisable goods or services, this program is for you. This program explains what excise duty is, who is required to register for it, the due dates, and who is required to be licensed. Helping us look at this topic in studio with me is GABRIEL KABANDA and Florence MUNAKOMBWE from Zambia Revenue Authority. GABRIEL and Florence, good to have you on Tax Chat.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and good morning.
Good morning to you, Alice.
Thank you. Yes, today we are looking at understanding excise duty. We want to find out what is excise duty. GABRIEL.
Thank you so much for that very important question. I think it's always important that we start from the basics for us to fully understand what excise duty is all about. So we'll basically start with a definition of what excise duty is all about.
Mm-hmm.
So excise duty is a tax on particular goods or products which is levied on these particular goods, whether they're imported or domestically produced. So in trying to determine this tax, we're basically going to make reference to the value of that particular product or good. Then we're going to look at maybe the weight or the quantity. And this tax also is imposed on particular services.
Okay. Maybe mukufuna kushita understand pali maki characteristics ya excise duty kuti niya bwanji.
Okay. So my characteristics here, excise duty. I'll start with the first one. You find that excise duty typically will be higher in terms of proportion. So I'll give an example of one particular good. You find that maybe the excise duty tax for the Yameni good is like 145%. So in the price at which you're buying that particular good, you find that the greater proportion of that particular good is actually the excise duty. Then the other characteristic which I can talk about is that it's not on all goods where we find that we charge this excise duty. It's only on a very narrow range of products where excise duty is charged. We're talking about just below 15 products that attract excise duty. Then Chinangu is that excise duty, in as much as it is accounted for or by the manufacturer or the service provider, the ultimate person, anybody pay the excise duty is actually you and I. The final consumers are the ones that are supposed to pay this excise duty.
Florence, we want to understand who should register for this excise duty. When register kuli excise duty.
Thank you so much, Alice. So, people that are required to register for excise duty fall under four types of categories, I can say. So, the first one is energy sector. Bantu bama dilingana na coal, electrical energy, hydrocarbons. The second one I can say is communication sector. These are the mobile network operators, and tumanga wene Airtel, MTN, all sorts of things, and also the internet service providers like Liquid Telecom and so on. Then kuliko na manufacturers of excisable goods. So those ones, we talk about things like alcohol, beverages, and so on. And then we also have importers of excisable products. And I know that as we continue to discuss, we shall go in detail to describe these products that are excisable. Yes.
And why is local excise duty registration important?
Okay. So local excise registration is important in that it helps businesses operate legally.
Okay.
Yes, it helps them operate legally, and it also helps the government to secure revenue in that taxes are paid. And then they are properly recorded when someone is registered for local excise tax.
Okay. Gabriel, give us examples of these excisable products.
So my examples of excisable products will include non-alcoholic beverages. So here we're talking about my drink twabana, the soft drinks that we take, whether they are carbonated or not. Then we're also talking about alcoholic drinks. So we're talking about beer. We're talking about opaque beer. I think some of us will know maybe the white beer, brown beer. All those types of alcoholic beverages are actually excisable.
Okay.
Then other than that, we also have coal. We have electrical energy. We have cement. That's also one of the excisable products that we have. And other than that, we also have airtime. Airtime, in that value, the 5 kwacha or 10 kwacha that we are buying that airtime with, there's actually an excise duty component in those particular goods. Then other goods that I can mention will include my cosmetics. So we're talking about my perfume. We're talking about my lotions. Those are all excisable products. Then maybe last, the one which I can talk about is plastic carry bags.
Okay.
So those plastic carry bags that we use for shopping, those are also excisable products.
Oh, okay. How does one register for excise duty, Florence?
Okay, thank you so much. Registration for local excise duty, the tax type, is done through our portal. So you have to go to our main website, and our website is www.zra.org.zm. Once you access the portal, you will be able to log in using the login credentials. And this is the TPIN and the password mostly you're given. And mostly you have to use the laptop because the interface is quite wider. So you will have to enter the captcha as well on that platform. Then you will access the dashboard. Once you access the dashboard, you will see modules on your left where you will select the first option, that is registration option. Once you click there, there will be drop downs or rather options that will be given to you. Please select tax type amendment because you are registering for the tax type. Once you click there, you will see a window open up. And there are a series of questions that are outlined for you to choose. But we would say that you will only emphasize or rather pay attention to the last question that reads, are you adding any business activities? Once you click on that one, you will be able to see a window open up where the nature of your business portal, you're supposed to impute what you are doing or rather the activity. You will place it there, the start date, or rather the commencement of the business, as well as where you're getting the funds from to support the business. You will give us those details on that window. Then you save the changes. Once you save the changes, it goes to the next stage where you're going to give us the documents or rather give us the proof, which are in PDF format, the proof of the business that you're doing or rather the product that you're actually registering for. And once you are done, then you can save the changes. Then we'll be able to receive that task on our end and we'll be able to process your registration.
Okay. Tufunozera excise duty tax returns and payments. Imankala due date.
Excise duty return and payment is due on the 15th of the month following the period to which the business transactions relate. So let me break it down. Got you had business, say, in the month, like right now, we're in July. So whatever business happened in July, from the first day of July up to the end of July, you're going to record all the business transactions, and whatever excise duty amount will be due relating to this period will be due on the 15th of August. So that relates to both return filing as well as the payment. But this only applies to the manufacturers of excisable products as well as service providers. There's a special return filing due date and payment due date for hydrocarbon products. So hydrocarbon products, we're talking about those that are dealing in fuels, oil marketing companies, or OMCs for short. So these, they have a special arrangement in that the returns and payments will be made on every 10-day period. So you have from the first day to the 10th day of a particular month, the return is due by the 13th. So after every 3 days, by the 13th. Then the payment will be due on the 15th. Then for the next 10-day period, from 11th to 20th, even there, the return will be due on the 23rd, and the payment will be due on the 25th. Then from 21st day of the month up to the end of the month, the return will be due on the 3rd day of the following month, and the payment will be due on the 5th day of the following month. So that's the only for the special group that are oil marketing companies that are dealing in hydrocarbon products. But for the manufacturers, as well as for the service providers, the return and payment due date is on the 15th of the following month.
Okay. Florence, let's now look at the rates on YAMA excisable products.
Okay, so under local excise duty tax, we have what we call excise tariffs. These are taxes that are specified to certain excisable products. So these can be charged using units or rather percentage of value. So I can give an example. Monga per unit taxes, you find that opaque beer tima charging up 0.25 per liter, which is monga bachibuku and things like that. Then you find that non-alcoholic beverages, those are charged at 0.2 kwacha per liter. And then you find that cigarettes are charged at 750 kwacha per 1,000 sticks. So ija 1,000 sticks tima itanat per mile.
Okay.
Yes, so those ones, are charged at 750 kwacha. But when it comes to value taxes, you'll find that examples of cosmetics, we can say that we charge those at 30%. Alcoholic beverages, those are charged at 60%. While plastic carrier bags, they are charged at 100%. So if you notice that in local excise, there are variations, there are different values for certain products, depending on how hazardous it is to the society. Okay. So you'll find that plastic bags is at 100% charged, while alcohol is at 80, 60. Others, like I gave an example.
I really wanted to ask why.
Yes. You find the chibuku is at 0.25, simply because if you look at the alcohol percentage of 80%, what it would do to someone as compared to a chibuku that is actually brewed using natural products like, or rather, how can I say, those the product itself, how it is manufactured, is not as hazardous as the way ethanol can really affect a human being. And so the government saw it fit that those products that are harmful should be limited by actually putting high levels, or rather rates, that would discourage people from excessively using them and producing them in the country. Yeah, and in that regard, the government is also getting back the revenue at a higher rate, which actually benefits the country.
Okay. Okay. In case you're just joining us, you are watching a tax chat. Today, we are looking at understanding excise duty, and helping us look at that in studio with me is Gabriel and Florence from Zambia Revenue Authority. For now, we go on a short break. We'll be right back. Don't go away.
Today, you probably helped save a life. Or perhaps helped keep a watchful eye on a neighborhood. Today, you probably helped put food on someone's table. Or help build a road that leads to a destiny. You may have even helped shape the minds of our future. By paying your taxes, you help keep critical medical staff in a job, a school to run, or a neighborhood safe, and a whole lot more. Your taxes help Zambia become better for you and me. Zambia Revenue Authority. My tax, your tax, our destiny.
Welcome back. You are watching Tax Chat. Today we are looking at understanding excise duty, and helping us look at that in studio with me is Gabriel and Florence from Zambia Revenue Authority. For your comments and contributions that are following us on Azam TV or Top Star, or you're following us on Facebook, you can drop in your message to talk to ZRA. You can call them on the toll-free number, which is 4111. Let's get to interact. We want to hear from you. Yes, coming back to the questions, Gabriel, what are the excise duty registration requirement for service providers, OMC, cigarette importer and distributors?
Thank you so much for that. So the mandatory requirements, I'll speak to the mandatory requirements. Of course, there are a lot of requirements that we may ask depending on the case at hand, but I'll speak to the mandatory requirements that are needed for you to actually register for this particular tax type. So let me start with service providers. So service providers, we are referring to the mobile network operators and also the internet service providers. So for these, the mandatory requirement that we need is a license from the regulator, which is ZICTA. So that is the mandatory requirement that is required for them to register for this particular tax type. Then coming to the oil marketing companies, these are the ones that are dealing with the fuels, the petrol, the diesel that we get from the service stations. For these, the mandatory requirement is that we also need to get a license from their regulator, which is the Energy Regulation Board. Then coming to cigarette manufacturers, the mandatory documents that are required for cigarette importers rather and distributors is that we need to get, first of all, a completed form, because this particular process at the moment is done manually. So they have to complete a certain form that is given to them. So the mandatory documents that are required is, first of all, a duly completed form, because this process currently is done manually. Then the other thing which is important is for them to give us a certificate of incorporation or registration in case they're a business name. Then other than that, we also need them to present the tipping certificate. Those are the mandatory requirements. But other than that, we may get additional information as to the nature of the products that they want to bring into the country. So we may ask that they give us more details as to who is this manufacturer of the particular cigarettes that are going to come into the country, what are the brand names, and all that information, just so that we know exactly what kind of product is going to come into the country.
Okay. Nanga exercise duty registration and license requirements for manufacturer Niabwanj.
My requirements for manufacturers are a bit more nuanced, in that we first of all want to understand how are you manufacturing this process. So mzati uza This is exactly how we're going to start. So we want to get the process from start to finish. What kind of materials are going into this product? How long is it going to take for you to make this particular product? And what would be the output? Then other than that, we're also looking at giving us the cost structure for you to come up with this particular excisable product. What nitty-gritties are going into there? What is the costing build up from the start of the process up to the end? We want to get that information. Then other than that, we also want to understand at what premises are you going to be manufacturing from? Because later on we'll speak to the license, the licensing part. We want to know exactly what product you're going to be manufacturing. First of all, is it going to be alcoholic beverages? Is it going to be non-alcoholic? Then from where are you going to be actually manufacturing this particular product? So that information is also quite important to attach.
Okay. Tesitaka mpako nkani license, maybe mukufuno ziva. What is an excise license, Florence?
Okay, so an excise license, this is a legal document that is issued by Zambia Revenue Authority for manufacturers to manufacture excisable goods at an approved premise.
Okay.
That is in simple terms.
Okay.
Yes, so someone needs to understand that for them to produce whatever they are producing, for so long it is an excisable product, they should have this license.
Okay. Nangama types ya excise license yani yankala issued.
Types ya excise licenses will really depend on the product. So each license that is issued will basically be for a particular product. So remember from our discussion, we've said there are a lot of these products that we are licensing, that are excisable rather, and we have to license them. So basically, license that is issued will relate to the products that you're manufacturing. So some of the licenses that we will give is a license to manufacture non-alcoholic beverages. So ngati much produce my soft drinks, whether carbonated or not, you need to get a license to produce those non-alcoholic beverages. Then there's also a license to produce clear beer, because beer is further broken down into different classes. Because there's beer like what we commonly know we call as tujiri. So that requires a special license. That's a license to manufacture spirits, wines, and ciders. Then if you're producing this beer which is in bottles, I'll not mention my names, but yeah, we know the bottles I'm talking about. Yeah, that is clear beer.
Okay.
So there's also a license to produce clear beer. Then there's a license to produce cement. There's a license to produce coal. There's a license for electrical energy. There's a license for the other one I can talk about is plastic carrier bags. There's a license to produce plastic carrier bags. There's a license to produce cosmetics like lotions, yato.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's a license for that. But remember, I haven't talked about a license to produce airtime. In that, first of all, airtime is not a good. We're only giving licenses for manufacturers of excisable goods.
Okay.
So there's no license for airtime because it's already licensed, first of all, by the regulator, which is ZICTA.
Okay. Florence, is every manufacturer required to have a license?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, every manufacturer of excisable products is required to have a license. And this license is supposed to help them in that it protects them from acquiring penalties, and also to just help us also to keep track of which companies really are manufacturing these products. And I know many people would ask questions such as, is this license charged? Is there any fee attached to this license? And my answer would be yes, in that it is charged at 15,000 per fee units. That's what we use, which is equivalent to 6,000. And this very license is actually a yearly license. So every September, between the period of September to December, we actually encourage taxpayers to renew their licenses for the year, because it's only a yearly kind of a license. And then for them to operate properly, or rather not incur these penalties, or rather the suspension of the TCCs, we advise them to actually do it a year before, because it always expires on the 31st of the year it was issued.
Okay. And how does a business apply for an excise license?
Okay. So, like I went through the process of registering for the tax type, local excise, it is similar in that when you're a first-time register of the tax type, local excise, it will go through the process, the natural process of accepting the tax type on our end. But once we are done with it, it will show on your account that you're registered for local excise, and it will automatically prompt an inspection on our end. So we will visit the premise so that we are able to approve whether that business can legally operate or not. So there are certain rules and regulations, or rather guidelines, that are given by the government for us to observe when we're doing these inspections. And then if we discover that there are certain things that are not in line with the law, we shall most definitely not license you. But when we are satisfied, we are able to approve that license. And then when it comes to renewal of that license, we still do the same process of initiating it through the portal. So the taxpayer is required to log in and then go under the registration module. Once they click on applications under that registration module, they will observe quite a number of options. And among those options, you will find the excise renewal license. There, when they click, they'll be able to submit 4 documents that are mandatory for us to renew their license. And these documents are the cash flow product. That's the bank statement, and mostly we require the 3 months bank statement. We also want the flow chart. We want to know how that product is actually produced. We also require you to give us the product formulation, because for each and every product, we want to know if at all those raw materials that you're using are really good for the people. And also we want to know the cost structure. What is it that you're imputing? How are you arriving at those numbers? Because we can't just look at tax, how much you are giving us, without looking at how much you are imputing to produce that product. Yes, basically that's that. And then once you're done with that application and you submit, we process it on our end, and we post the liability on your account. Once that liability is serviced, you have your license for the year.
Okay. Does a license cost money, Gabriel?
The short answer is yes, the license does cost money. And the license fee, which is an annual fee, is 15,000 fee units, which translates into 6,000 kwacha for a license. So that applies both to a new license. So if you're a new business, you come today to ZRA and we approve that registration and license, there's going to be that 15,000 kwacha paid.
Okay.
And this is valid up to the 31st of December. And if at all you want to continue operating next year, there's going to be a window that is going to be open from September all the way up to December for you to do that renewal so that you're able to operate in 2027. And still, for the renewal, it's still 6,000 kwacha annual license fee.
Okay. In a situation where a business operates without a license, what happens?
Operating without a license is a very serious offense, And in addition to any other penalties that may be imposed, you could actually lose all the equipment which is in that plant, including all the goods that have been manufactured. All of those items will be confiscated by the state and forfeited. So it's really a call on all manufacturers of excisable products to ensure that they are licensed before they engage in these manufacturing activities producing these excisable products.
Okay. Your concluding remarks on the topic that we had, which is understanding excise duty. Florence.
Okay. So, taxpayers should know that it is a requirement for them to be licensed each and every time they want to produce these products. So if you are an incoming business or rather upcoming manufacturer of these products, know that there is excise duty tax that needs to be registered, and you will need a valid license for you to operate legally in Zambia to produce or rather import or distribute those products. And also, let taxpayers be reminded that these licenses are yearly. They expire on the 31st of December that year that it has been issued. We are also encouraging taxpayers to observe their rights in that regarding the licenses, if a manufacturer has not been licensed due to certain reasons and they are not satisfied, they can appeal to the appeals tribunal, which is the process that we use as ZRA to express our discrepancies as a taxpayer, where you're going to express yourself. Yes, but basically just know that you are required to register for that tax type, licensed, and you are supposed to pay tax as a business.
Okay.
Maybe just to also add on, I think the core is that once the notice is out, there'll be a notice that will be sent out, I think in the next 2 months or so, where we're going to open that window for renewal. We basically are calling to all the taxpayers that are affected by this, and we're referring basically to the manufacturers of excisable products to ensure that producing these particular products has to be on board, registered duly, and licensed. So we're calling on the public, please let's support tax compliance by ensuring that we're purchasing products that are duly registered and licensed, so that we help one another in terms of national development, because if businesses are on board and duly registered and licensed, then it means that they're going to contribute to the national development.
Okay.
Then
please go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, we just want to say that if at all you want any information, I know this is going to be a series, so we're going to go deeper into things like obligations and other matters that relates to excise duty. First and foremost, they need to look out for that next episode. We're going to look at these things. But in terms of any other information that you would want to get from us, I think we have a lot of channels as ZRA that you can use, but I'll mention 3. You can reach us by email. Our email address is advice@zra.org.zm. You can also call our toll-free line, which is 4111, or better yet, visit our website, which has a lot of information about excise duty. So you log on to our website, which is www.zra.org.zm.
Okay. Well, Florence and Gabriel, it's been a pleasure having you on Tax Chat.
A pleasure is all mine.
Okay. We've come to the end of the program. I believe you've learned 1 or 2 things about the topic of a focus we had today, which is understanding excise duty. Remember, by paying tax, you and I are making a better Zambia. It's my tax, your tax, our destiny.